Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Career Retrospectives right here on the Super Review Show. I am joined by my two good, phenomenally fantastic co-hosts, Kyle and Mike. What's going on?
We are phenomenal. Thank you.
And you both
Yes.
are incredible young men. Don't worry. Well,
Yes.
maybe not Mike, but
Just
Making me
don't
feel
fret.
young again.
sorry. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
No, but anyways, I digress. We are here to discuss and break down an album that I picked this time. I couldn't get out of my head for a long time. Whatever. We're gonna be discussing and just talking overall thoughts and track listing and everything we normally do. Paul McCartney's Egypt Station from 2018, and I will actually kick this one off for us here tonight, because being that I'm a big Beatles guy, big fan of Paul in general. This was the album for me that got me into Paul McCartney's solo career outside of like the 80s and late Wings and stuff like that. So going into it, I was like, all right, I'm excited. I can't wait to see what goes on, whatever he does. And I got to tell you the truth. For me, as when this album came out almost 4 years ago now, in September of 2018, and I was floored at the time, and I to the point where I couldn't stop listening to it for about a month, truthfully. And that might be in shock for some people at home, but like, how could you listen to a modern album for over a month? It just happened for me. So, but basically, I delved into the songs. I was very much into like a lot of the different. There was even like when actually it's funny when the album first came out, Sirius XM on the Beatles channel had a giant broadcast like for an hour and 20 minutes of Paul going track by track of the history of each of the songs. That's up on YouTube. You can look at that as well. But overall, a very strong album for me. I really enjoyed the album to this day. There were some tracks that hold up less weight than when it first came out back in September of 2018 for me personally. But the reason why I'm really glad, and I just said this before we started, I'm really glad I have Kyle and Mike's opinions here, because as you don't know, before we do every show, we do a little bit like, oh, what album did you like, or what song did you like, or what song did you not like, or what album did you not like? But we do a little like preface before we go live. And one of the things that I just want to point out is I may truly love this album. I may think that this album is like the greatest thing ever, but not everyone does. And all opinions, all art is subjective. I've said that from the beginning. But this album for me it holds up well. And you might hear opinions that you might not fully like enjoy, but that's okay, because it's all good. It's all in good fun. It's all for the love of music as a whole. And I am very excited to talk about this album. So let's get into. Do you guys have any initial impressions you guys want to share at all, or no?
I could just say that, I went into this as someone that is a very, very large Beatles fan. I love the Beatles. I will say I had never gravitated towards any of their solo work. That goes for all four of them. The Beatles are very much the perfect example of a band that is great together, and then separate they have their moments, but they never came close to touching what they did with the Beatles all together.
Yep.
Another band that comes to mind like that, My Chemical Romance, more recent times. So I went into this very hopeful, especially after seeing I remember when this came out, had very good reception among fans and critics alike. So I was excited to go into this one.
Yep. Mike, you got anything at all? Or?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting with solo careers versus, under the name of the Beatles, or under the name Wings, or under the name of The Expectation. And in a lot of ways, the vibe I got from this album is a very free vibe of like of trying to find one's current identity versus their previous self. So in taking that forward, it was I tried to get in that mindset of listening to an album that was defining a person and who they are today versus not so much living up to their previous expectations. And that's hard. It's really hard for me because I tend to be the kind of person who has like a future and past minded versus like like who they are today and whatnot. So yeah, I think that's what the whole point of putting out a solo album in this day and age is to tell people who you are now and that you're not just completely out of touch and still the past. You're the present as well. So yeah, it's an interesting perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with both the things you both just said. I mean, it's just, I mean, cost perspective of saying I love the Beatles as a band, but never delving into their solo work. So I mean, you might not be. You mean both of you probably weren't as familiar with either one of their any of their solo careers at this point. But I'm glad that I was able to introduce you to at least something, which is I've delved into a lot of their stuff, like mainly McCartney, if anything. I mean, John Lennon, he got shot in 1980. His career kind of didn't last. His solo career didn't last that long, unfortunately. But but Ringo, he's still putting out some stuff. George Harrison put out stuff into the 80s, of course. So, but yeah, no. But let's delve into the Wikipedia. For those of you who are listening to us, we're just gonna I'll give you the brief rundown and stuff like that of some stuff on the Wikipedia page here. So, for those of you who don't know, Egypt Station was Paul McCartney's 17th solo effort by him, and it was released in September of 2018. One of the things, I don't know if you guys, either of you noticed this, but this is where I did a lot of the research for this. Initially and going back recently too, the album was produced by Greg Kurstin. I don't know if you guys know who he is. He actually produced the Foo Fighters' Concrete and Gold, and he co-wrote Adele's Hello. I don't know if you guys knew that or not. But so going into this, Paul McCartney, I felt, was looking for like a modern, like contemporary, almost not contemporary like style, but contemporary sound, if you will, of like what he could do as an artist in modern context. And he wanted to get a producer that could do that, and he got Greg. And I've looked up Greg. He's done his other stuff aside from Adele. He did a song with Lady Gaga, so he's kind of like been around the block in that aspect. As someone who liked Hello for what it was, and also enjoyed the Foo Fighters' Concrete and Gold as well. But he's a really, if you haven't looked up who Greg Kurstin is, he's a really solid producer overall, personally. But when the first singles got released, I was like, oh, cool, it's another album coming out. It should be cool. I mean, that's when I was really getting into Paul and the Beatles and Wings all together, and it all kind of just took off from there for me. He did, it was released on September 7th, 2018. It's actually, I'm surprised how long it took. I didn't know this. It recorded from January of 2016 to February of 2018. I didn't realize that it took him like almost 2 years to craft this album. So I didn't realize that, but that's just me. But let's see. Let's jump down to the track listing for a little bit. Anything else you guys want to share, like going into it all, or no? You guys are good?
No, good.
Yeah, good.
All right, cool. I'm gonna read off the track listing for those of you who are keeping track at home. So all the tracks were produced by Greg Kurstin and Paul McCartney, except for You. Yes, I said that correctly. FHUU, and that is produced by Kyle's favorite producer of all time, Ryan Tedder from One Republic. It's his favorite producer, guys. He's cracking open the beer as we speak.
Yeah, figures it's the one of the songs I don't care for.
I'll get into. I'll share my track listing favorites in a second too. But like all the tracks were written by Paul McCartney except for You, which was Ryan Tedder and Paul McCartney. But one of the things I do love about this album, truthfully, and if you look at the album on the Spotify or wherever you listen to music, it starts with Opening Station, and which is just a 40-something second instrumental, and it's like it sets up the mood for me, because the way I thought of this album personally was like a loose concept album, which was like each song is a different train stop on a train ride. That's the way I looked at it, as a loose, like, concept album kind of thing. But that's just me. I mean, it might have been for you. It might have been different. Who knows? But here's the track listing. So Opening Station, I Don't Know, Come On To Me, Happy With You, Who Cares, For You. I'm going to be smiling every time I say that because I have so many jokes to pull out. Confidant, People Want Peace, Hand in Hand, Dominoes, Back in Brazil, Do It Now, Caesar Rock, Despite Repeated Warnings, back to another station instrumental for another 40 seconds with Station 2, and then Hunt You Down, Naked, and C-Link, which is a melody similar to what Abbey Road ended on. You want me to go first? Who wants to go first for a track listing?
You are
Take
going
it
first.
away.
I'm going to do it. Oh, no.
Yes, the mighty
Well,
J.
So truthfully, I would say that this album is, for me, it's very front loaded, but the songs after Hand in Hand still hold up, not as well as I thought they would, going back into, because like I said, when I listened to this like for a month or two in 2018, now it's 2022, it's 4 years later. I was just going back to it again like the past like a couple weeks, and I was like, oh my God, I forgot how good this song was, but the second half didn't really hold up as much for me as I thought it would. Like basically from Hand in Hand, from Dominoes down to the Hunt You Down, Naked, Ceiling. That for me, that was like the second half of the album, and it didn't really do as much for me as I thought it would, holding up now, that is. But my standout tracks for me personally are, I don't know. I mean, because I lyrically speaking and musically speaking, I mean, I think it's a masterpiece of a song, because Paul McCartney, he being that he's now 80, but I mean, he wrote this when he was like 76, maybe 77. Lyrically and musically, it does sound like someone is struggling the way he came with the chord progressions. I really like that angle a lot. So I don't know. Come On To Me, it's just a funny, raunchy love song, in my opinion. That one. Who Cares is a good standout track for me. And you both are going to look at me so bad when I say this, but that For You song, I had it like stuck in my head for about a month. It's fucking amazing, guys. It's so fucking cool. It makes me fucking happy to be alive. It's such a, but I will admit though, I have to admit though, it is a stupid fucking song. It is one of the stupidest fucking pieces of fucking music I've ever fucking heard in my lifetime. Yes, you see where I'm going with this. I prepared that joke all week for you guys.
Yes.
It's so fucking stupid. It's just a stupid, goofy song. It's weird. He was definitely going for something like super commercial there, but that's me. But yeah, I mean, like my standout tracks are, I don't know, Come On To Me, Who Cares, For You, as like an honorable mention. It's not that I hold it up, but not nowhere near to the other ones. And personally, the last one I would say actually is Confidant, because when I try and play a guitar, like that's the story of that song. Confidant is actually a love song to the guitar. It tells the story about how, like, my underneath the staircase friend, I've missed you, let's play together, stuff like that. I like the storytelling and the musicianship on this album. To me, held up a lot, though, I will say that. But as far as like, maybe his vocals weren't the strongest, because he is now 80. I mean, he was like 70 something when he made this. But for me, like, those are my standout tracks, and like the second half of the album did not hold up as much as I thought it would. But that's just me. So
maybe Def Leppard and they can get together and write a song about their guitar. I mean, then they have a song on their album about a guitar.
That's right.
Yeah,
sure did.
Yeah, we can have a nice little collaboration. And
this guitar meets Confidant.
Look, we're making a call out to Paul McCartney's agent and Def Leppard's agent to get together on this. Don't make us ask twice, please.
And we would like 1% profit from all the proceeds.
1%.
Just 1% profit. Nothing to complain about there. But yeah, that's where I'm at. So the first half of the album to me holds up more than the second half. So that's where my love of these songs come from. But that is me, and I will say that it is fucking amazing how fucking stupid that For You song is. Just get ready for that joke all night, ladies and gents. Just saying. Anyways, let's jump over to Mike. What are some standout tracks for you as far as this album goes?
All right, so what's weird is I kind of came into this album thinking it was gonna be kind of a strange, like, it was gonna actually have some Egypt kind of like African kind of sounding stuff in it, because, like, I don't know, I've known the Beatles to be very experimental, like I've known the in the time that, like, and I was like, a lot of older people as they kind of hit that point in their career, they like to include the sounds of like kind of world sound album, almost new age-ish, if you will, that some of these artists have hit, and wanted to do. So I came in this and seeing the front artwork, I was like, oh, yeah, I think it's probably going to be something like that. And then I just kind of get hit with, like, I do kind of see where you're like where he's going with the station thing, but I kind of wish it was a little more included. Like there was a couple more station stops, like you were saying, like
Yeah.
the beginning, and then you got the one at the end. But it would have been cool as if it was like 1-2 songs, then another one. Like, okay, we're getting off station, and it kind of it pertained to the song itself. Like I got off at a station to meet a girl. Okay, there we are. You met the girl at the station or something, you know what I'm saying? Like, and then this, when he gets off at the station and something else happens, like I thought it was going to be something like that, but maybe it kind of is that I just don't see. But yeah, like I think that would have been a cool idea if he had done that. But yeah, so coming into it, I found myself hitting some highs, a lot of lows, coming back to a high again, hitting a lot of lows. It was kind of a bumpy ride. We're on a train, guys. Woo! Yeah, why do I always do that every review? Bad, Mike, bad.
That's okay.
But yeah, so kind of coming at the beginning, the opening was like kind of like a good start. Like I was like, okay, like I like the feeling in this, the emotion in this, the vocals are a little off-putting, and they're kind of like a little like I'm just like I'm kind of hoping that they do something with the vocals and kind of as we go along. And then Come On to Me kind of was just wasn't my thing. I don't know if anyone knows, but I'm not a huge fan of repetition in music. Like if it's repetitive, it needs to have some real development in between the repetition that keep me interested. And I kind of felt that way with that song. Same thing with Happy With You. I actually kind of wanted to rename this song Strange Ramblings of a Senior Citizen because it kind of sounds like my grandpa telling me about his day. Oh, I can go watch a fish in the lake, or I can go catch butterflies, and it's just nice that I used to get stoned and now I'm like too old for that. Like, thanks, Paul. We appreciate the information there, but yeah, like actually I was listening to that song, I was like, this is just strange. He's like beatboxing in the background, like and I was just like, oh boy, like what is going on in this song? It feels very indulgent to the idea of I now live the simple things in life. I don't really care about the extreme side of life, like, whatever. But it was like, I think it was definitely lost in the presentation, I guess you could say. But I think my first high point, again, like I said, we're coming in on that train and the train's finally hitting that full speed, is Who Cares? I mean, that song, I'll tell you what, I'll come back to that song. I'll add it to my library. And it could be something I could listen to while I'm in the car. It's got that good pace to it. It's just got the get up and go kind of like, it kind of reminds me of ELO. It kind of reminds me of the good beat, the good pace, the good chorus. Overall, this is the top track on this album. And it feels authentic. It feels authentic. It feels good. And I wanted more of this, to be honest with you. I was like, man, I hope there's more of this. And unfortunately, it kind of just drops off that cliff again. For You, Confidant. For You is just it. I don't know if you guys have watched a video. It's called The Axis of Awesome. Anybody out there has watched it, but they talk about the typical chord progression and sound of a pop song. If you hear Journey's like "Don't Stop Believing," like a lot of groups use this, and this one was just right there. It was just that dun 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 dun. Just kind of use this very simple, kind of catchy thing. And like, while I don't have any problem with pop music, I do kind of like feel like I'm invested in them, I'm pushed back out in feeling how it's almost attempting to make Paul McCartney and the current pop world relevant to each other, because he's a pop star from the past, group, rock group, you know, like, and they're like, look, he can still do what pop artists are doing today and put his spin on it. Like, do you want him to put his spin on it? I'd rather have him play something that still means a lot to him and isn't, but has some elements of that, not just all of one element in his spin. You know, I'm trying to say, like, he's sold out to one side versus the other. So, yeah, just really generic and kind of, yeah, like you said, it's a fun song for those people, you know, who like want to have an interesting, like, not interesting, but a fun song. Interesting is not the word, but fun and
It is
whatever.
fun, amazing, Mike. It's fun.
Yeah, and it's just strange though. Like I was just like,
Yeah.
what? No. Stop, Paul, please. But you're still, please, Paul, don't hurt me. You're a god of the music industry, and everything I say is just a humble music nerd who has no actual relevancy to the music world around him. But still, please, don't do any more of that. So then, yeah, Confidant, kind of, yeah, it was just boring. There's a little bit of boringnesses. People One Piece boring. Hand in Hand, that's actually where things start picking up. Hand in Hand is a good song. It has the potential to actually be better. And this is one of those moments I told you about where I begin to change the song as it's going. And I'm like, this would sound so great if he had done something like this. But like, he just kind of comes back to the beginning. And I'm like, it's a good song. It just could have been better. But I still like it. Hand in Hand is actually, it has a good old school feeling to it. Dominoes, yeah, I'd rather not. Just, you know, strange backing vocals remind me kind of ELO, with they use like the keyboard over the vocals, like, you know, that kind of old style, but it just seems weird. Back in Brazil has some style points because it's a little authentic sounding, but overall, have you seen the music video? It's cringy. It's like this girl and guy meet up, who the girl's like nipping through the shirt, and she goes to a Paul McCartney show. And she's like, yeah, I met Paul McCartney, and this is a video Paul McCartney's doing about someone going to his show. Like, wait, what? Like, that's kind of strange.
Really, like you just don't understand it.
Yeah, it's so beyond my mental capacity. Yeah, it was just like, wow, that was weird. Like, but I mean, you know, and then Do It Now is actually where we hit a high point again. You know, that's got the potential to throw back the old style. It's got the kind of, like, you know, Beatles feel to it. I personally felt this was like another song I could come back to again and actually put to my library and actually play again. Caesar Rock, that was, yeah, just kind of felt like a loop with a couple breaks in the pattern, but it felt soulless, off center. Despite previous warnings, or despite repeated warnings, excuse me, actually was kind of a cool musical kind of, it changes. It has a bunch of like movements in it, and you know, because that's me. I am a movement guy. If I could beat a drum loud, I hate songs that are just one musical thought where it adds a couple different pieces in between and stays on the same musical thought. It's like, here's your musical thought, now we're moving off into this direction, then we kind of come back to that first thought, and then we come back to this next direction, and then we tie it all back in together, and it's almost like a classical music piece, if you will, where you have a theme with a bunch of different movements, but the theme comes back in the end. That is me. And I thought I was going to love the song so much more, but it kind of sputtered. You know, still, it's a track that I thought has a lot of potential, and then it just kind of rounds out with the final song, which I just kind of didn't care about at that point. I had gotten what I wanted, and I was like, I'm taking these and I'm leaving. I'm getting off this train, and, like, you know, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, yeah. So,
you thought you were done after station 2. You thought you were off the train. You thought you were free.
He thought it was off the train.
Yeah. Then, yeah, I spilled my orange juice on the seat. The guy told me my ticket wasn't real, and then I was basically frisked, and I was.
And then you woke up from the dream.
Yeah, well, I go in the dream, and I was like, that all happened here at the station, Egypt.
It's funny. I just want to say, despite repeated warnings, one of the things I love, one of the things I really enjoy about it, though, is that you are right, though. It does change, like, you know, it's not like a one thought song, like you said. It reminded me a lot of like Band on the Run or Day in the Life or Live and Let Die, stuff like that. But in a modern studio, you know, context, making a song like that. That's what because I literally just heard it before we went on. I was like, that reminded me of like A Day in Life, Band on the Run, Live and Let Die, like one of those like weird build up songs. But no, that's just me though. But
yeah.
Anything else for your track listing, or anything else, or what do you got?
That's it, man. That's sums it all up. I just who cares is the top with alongside Do It Now. Despite previous warnings, has the potential, and then pretty much I did kind of dip into some of the Target edition, and I almost like it was like going on a train and heading into the part where they like don't let you back there because it's where like I don't know the workers lie down on the ground and pass out. You know what I mean? Like my dad worked for a train. He worked for Metro North for 32 years, and it's called the Deadhead. It's called the Deadhead, and the Deadhead is where all the workers go to sit, and in their dirty clothes and their worker clothes, they sit in this part of the train to stay out of the way of the passengers. And when you go back there, it's just like it's not the greatest place to be. It's like it's kind of dirty. It's dark. There's no lights because they turn the lights off and whatever. That was the Deadhead at 17 and 18. Like I was just I didn't want to go there, and I did, and I was sorry for it. So so.
Just want to say before we go to Mike, there is a 5-minute version of Who Cares on the extended edition if you want to hear that too. It's like it's not exactly. Who cares? or what are you fucking talking about, man? It's fucking amazing.
Fun.
It's that joke's gonna run through this whole show. Anyways, Kyle, you Mr. Beatles fan or whatever you are, I don't know.
Kyle, you have to do this entire review in a Liverpool accent. I'm sorry.
If I could, I would, Mike. If I could, I would.
Sorry.
I'm terrible with accents. So I'm actually kind of in almost full agreement with Mike for a shocking twist of turns here.
About to say.
Very not like us, but my top three. My number one was Do It Now. That's the most old school Beatles sounding thing we have on here. Hand in Hand was my number two. The vocals on here I just thought were a lot better than most of the album. I actually thought the little pan flute at the end was pretty good as well. I enjoyed that nice little change of pace. And my third favorite, which was, I didn't add it to my playlist. So I came out of this album with only 2 songs to actually add into my rotation. This one was almost there. It was Who Cares. I really like the groove of the song. Maybe that full version on the, expanded, whatever they call it, edition of the album. Maybe that'll push it up to something I actually add in. I'll have to check it out. But really for me, and I agree with JT's point on this, is it was very front loaded. But even then, to me there were a lot of 5 songs out of 10. A lot of songs I would give a 5 or a 6. Just very middle of the road. All right, that song just happened. I wouldn't turn it off, but I'm not gonna go back to it. Come On to Me, there's a lot of repetitive and annoying things in there, specifically the doo-doos that he does in there annoy me to the point where I was like, I gotta turn this off. I did on repeated listens. You was, I just it sticks out in a bad way of being this is, I need my modern radio hit. I'm gonna try it with this song. I don't think it worked for me, just especially in context of this album. It just kind of sticks out. Confidant, the lyrics at times feel smushed into the song. He was I need to say this, let me just say it, and even though it doesn't fit very well, I'm going to say it. Nice little message, I guess, but it just kind of doesn't really go anywhere, which is a problem I have with a lot of these songs, is that they start and they get going, but they never go anywhere, and then they just end. And Mike, I actually completely agree with you about despite repeated warnings. 100%. It has so many cool ideas, but I don't think a single one of them was fully realized the potential that it could have been. So when I was listening to it, it does go through different motions, but I don't think it fully perfected any of them. It just kind of feels there. And then at the end of Station 2, once that's done, it's like, yeah, all right, I'm done with the album. And then Hunt You Down comes on, and it's just too long. By that time, I'm kind of sick of the album. I think it's too long of an album. I think it could have been, specifically on the tail end, a lot of it could have been cut out completely. Songs like Back in Brazil, I really didn't like. I do appreciate that he tried something different, but a lot of it ended up sounding like elevator music on it to me. Dominoes, just really didn't like it, specifically the ending. It just comes out, the ending of that song comes out like really conjumbled and kind of sounding like a mess, if we're going to be honest. And my number one most hated song on this album, People Want Peace. I hate this song. I can't tell you enough.
I love when Kyle says, "I hate this song." That's a Kyle. That's a Kyle staple.
If there was ever a song with more straightforward lyrics that are, you might as well just be saying, "All right, everyone, hold hands and sing Kumbaya. Let's all come together and we want peace." Like, we get it. We get it. You made your entire career out of this. And this is, no slight to Paul McCartney. Like we've all said, he's a legend. I have the utmost respect for the guy. He's great. I think there's a lot of misses on here, which really surprised me going into this because, like I said earlier, I remember when this came out, and I always meant to get around to listening to it because the reception of this was great. People really liked this album. JT loved it. So I was really excited for it. And then it just kind of let me down.
Yeah,
All
what's kind of funny?
Let down.
And what's kind of funny is I almost feel like that's where I kind of came in when I was talking about Freedom. It almost feels like this is an album made by a man who is not interested in chasing any kind of tale of like, yeah. Well, I mean, by the whole theme of the song seems like that's not necessarily true, but chasing the tail end of the Beatles, like trying to redefine this album as the Beatles. It feels like a man who played music he wanted to play, whether it was good or not. And he wasn't going to like superly like sit here and grind away and make the most epic, like original sounding songs. It was just like, hey, I'm making music that I want to make, and like some of it's just like, it's just something I want to say, and I don't have the musical kind of like inspiration in my life right now to really hammer out something that's like gonna blow you away, but I have music still that I want to make, so here it is. And that's okay because I'll tell you what, where you were 20 years ago, 40 years ago is not where you are now, and you can't just magically become the person who had all the inspirations and the kind of inclinations and just spark. You're still the same person who has the same mind, but you may not be in the same place or have the same idea at the time. You're still a talented musician. A lot of these songs still have some good stuff on them. It's just not magic. Creating magic is very difficult, and it's not something you do at a stage in your life where you've already been done with all of the things that brought you to the magical moment. So yeah, it's
I mean, yeah, out of any musicians, the Beatles, almost, I would say every album that they put out in their career was magic. There's something about the four of them writing together and making music together that was great. And yes. I like where he's at in his career. If this is what he's doing, just I don't expect anything like that from him anymore. I'm happy that he's putting out things that he wants to do.
Exactly.
It's great because he's 80 and he's still making music, still doing his thing, and I think it's great. I will say points of this album, I haven't listened to the one after this, so I can't speak to that one, but I think his vocals they definitely show the strain of age on this album quite a bit. There's certain songs that the vocals just took me out of it to the point of really not enjoying the songs, specifically because they reminded me of Lou Reed at parts. And I really don't like Lou Reed. I haven't liked anything he's done, ever did, I should say.
Oof.
But yeah, like it, for what it is, It's an album made by a guy that was 76 at the time. Most people aren't making music into their 70s and pushing 80. I think that there's certain things that could have been changed. I don't know if anyone else noticed, but something I took pretty big notice of throughout was you hear the same drum pattern very frequently on this. It's like almost every song was the same drum pattern, to the point where there would be times on like my first listen where I was like, oh, this is a different song, but it just sounded like the same.
Then you realize it's Ringo Starr's solo work. Oh no, I'm sorry, Ringo is a good drummer. Whoa, and by the way, that's not Paul McCartney. Paul McCartney died many, many years ago.
Well, yeah,
no.
God, we all know that.
I'm not gonna say no. Wave it off.
That's just common knowledge at this point.
Yeah, duh.
I mean, well, yeah, of course.
But we also just take a minute to acknowledge that he has been, in music for the better part of 7 to 8 decades. I mean, he started playing at the age of 15 in 1957. Here we are, 2022. It's like he's had a presence for 7 to 8 decades now.
That's crazy.
And he's been relevant in all of them. So as far as musicians go, he's, top tier.
Yeah.
I definitely say so. I just want to say, for those who are listening to us, you're not able to see this, but there's a limited edition Traveler's Edition super box set. I might get that for myself. Just saying.
Is that a coloring book it comes with? What the heck was that?
No, that's like it's a map or something.
Like a puzzle.
You guys gotta find this on Google. It's like, I don't even know.
It would just be funny. It's like Paul McCartney on a train. Like, I love to color. Just like coloring. Just like all
I
weird.
love coloring, guys. I was just coloring. Woo!
You just like you just come up to me like, oh, hey, Paul. Like, I guess it's cool if you say so. Like, because you're Paul McCartney. Like,
he's doing like the cheek scratch. Like, oh yeah. What are you talking about? Oh yeah. What are you talking about? I will say this though. Since we're kind of getting close to wrapping up. So this, I just want to acknowledge some of the chart significance that this had. There was no Hot 100 hits, but this topped the Billboard 200 with the albums chart. This was the first time it happened since 1982's Tug of War. That is true. It actually, it was a #1 album in 2018, and McCartney 3, I think, hit #2 in the US, and I think #1 in the UK. I might be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure.
Wow.
So it just shows you that, hey, this had a lot of momentum going, and it lasted for as long as it did, but obviously did not hold up as well as some people. Truthfully though, I am glad that I'm glad you guys like said, hey, we'll accept your album and we'll talk about it. Like it's like, because I mean, it's always going to have different perspectives. Because for me, I'm like, I'm in the fold, if you will, of like, I'm in the fold of like, I'm a huge McCartney fan. I saw him live twice, blah, 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 blah. You guys are not really in that like world in a sense. So you guys knew who the Beatles were and Wings were and whatnot. But like going into this, I was very curious to see what you guys had to say about this album, because it's just, I wanted to hear someone else's perspective, because I have a friend of mine, truthfully, I'm not going to give disclosure who this person is, but I will say this. He introduced me to it back then. And I said, but when it first came out, let me give this a shot. And him and I are on the same wavelength as far as like, he's a huge Wings, Beatles, solo Paul, like nut. It's crazy. He has, I think he has, when McCartney 3 dropped, which has the dice on it, he has 7 copies of the CD in the dice is different colors.
Wow.
I know, and I'm not saying who he is. I'm not saying his name, but if you're out there,
give us 3 letters. 3 letters. No.
CC. What?
Give me the last 4 digits of his social. Come
on. He lives down in. God, you guys crack me up. But yeah, I mean, this is an album that I go back. I've gone back to in the past week or so, even more though. I've gone back to it several months before as well. Like when 2020, I was like, let me just listen to Egypt Station one more time. And
it's kind of interesting. I struggled listening to this because as I listened and I wasn't a huge fan, I was just like, I feel guilty. Like I feel like I should like this, and I'm like, something's wrong with me. Like, I would read the comments on YouTube. They're like, Paul is God. Every word he speaks is true magic. I am but a speck in the ocean that his and I'm like, oh, something wrong with
fuck
me. And
you,
then
man.
I realized that's just the YouTube talking heads that are just like, they have like pre-written program that like fills out their comment section with just like gushing praise of everything. Like Paul could fart on mic and they'd be like, oh, it's the next Hey Jude, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, like they're just they're just, yeah. So I struggle with that, but I like had to be real. I had to be me.
Mike, somewhere that's a headline. For You replaces Hey Jude on top of Billboard 200.
By
I
You,
could just
most
see it
downloaded
now.
song. By You, most downloaded song of all time.
I will
Outdoes Hey
say,
Jude.
that downplays Hey Jude by the Beatles. I will say this though, one more thing before we start to wrap up here. As far as I looked up the streaming numbers on all the songs. I mean, I'm assuming you guys listen on Spotify as well.
Yep.
If you look on the desktop version, like the two most played songs, believe it or not, are like with the most streams it is, which actually truthfully surprised me about any modern album by any artist that's like older than like Paul McCartney or Elton John or whoever.
Did very well on streams.
Yeah, I mean, like "For You" is like the second most streamed song.
Yeah.
And "Come On to Me" was like, I think, in like the most one that's I don't even know. I don't think I saw that or not, but I was like, that
Each
took
one
me
is
by
a
surprise.
couple million at least.
Oh yeah, no. I know that "For You" has, I think, I just checked today. It was like 12 million, and "Come On to Me" was at like 15 million streams. So I mean, that shows you how like certain songs and certain newer content can last. I mean, for a certain while. I mean, it might not be your favorite, but I will say that it was like just something that was like very like unique. And it's funny actually when Mike said it's like a train station stop. It's almost like the train broke down and they had to fix it in Mike's case, where it's like I don't know. Okay, come on to me. Oh, I know we're going off the rails. Oh no. I can just see like a model train set just slowly like falling apart as the album goes on in your mind. Somewhere. I don't know. Maybe, but yeah. Any other last concluding thoughts, lasting impressions, fulfilling amazing thoughts? Anyone at all, or any other concluding thoughts? You guys are good?
Not for me, but JT, let's start off with you on the rankings here.
Oh god.
For the ratings.
Oh man.
Oh, we're ranking all the Beatles music.
Yeah,
I didn't even start.
We're doing the Beatles catalog,
Oh,
all 12 albums. No,
12.
All 12, all 16 For You songs. Anyways, I just can't even. I went through a falling phase one day, guys. It's such a stupid song. Anyways, my overall, we're going out of 5 or by 10. Do you guys care?
I can do out of 10.
Mine's out of 5, but I can do 10.
We'll go out of 5. We'll make it easy for us to count. So for me, I can already tell immediately where this is going. But I will say, for me personally, out of 5, I'm going to give this, revisiting it, coming back to it after it got released in 2018, I'm going to give it a solid 3.85 out of 5. Because
wow.
I
thought you were going way higher.
No, I know. Bro. You would think that, but like at the same time, it's like, look, it is very front loaded. Now that I think about it, like to me, the better songs are on the first, like, with the exception of "For You." Like the first 5 or 6 songs are really solid, and then "For You" isn't just dropped in the middle. It's like the sore thumb that sticks out. I can't. Thor makes an appearance in the album, ladies and gentlemen. It's fucking amazing. Anyways, but for me personally, it is a 4. I'll go a little bit higher. I'll go 3.9 out of 5 for me, because I realized that the other songs, like the bottom half, like the melody at the very end, doesn't really hold up that much for me. Like stuff like "Back in Brazil" is a little strange. I will admit that. So but other than that, I think it's some of his best. It's as far as like a contemporary rock album goes by an older artist. To me, this is one of the standing ovations. Like, way to go! But that's me. So it's 3.9 out of 5 for me. That's it. What, like a 8 out of 10? I don't even know. Whatever. It was just fucking amazing. But let's go over to Mike.
Yeah. For me, yeah, it definitely has a couple songs on there that I really enjoy. I like the ideas in some of the old throwbacks moments, but yeah, there's just a lot of dips for me, a lot of just boring parts to it that I just, I'm all for quiet music and stuff like that, but when the chorus doesn't do much or is not memorable, it's kind of just saying the point, like Kyle was kind of saying, like the messages were cool, like, but the chorus and the overall development in between that weren't there. So yeah, it's a 2.8 out of 5 for me. That's just kind of where I have to sit on that. And am I not the villain today, Kyle?
Oh, Mike, you are
send it
not
over
the
to you.
villain. You are not the villain here.
Woo!
So, wow, I'm surprised. I went significantly lower.
Oh God,
This came to a 2.25.
Okay, all right, yeah.
Like
that.
A lot of cool ideas throughout. I don't think they were ever realized on a majority of the tracks. I only came out of this with 2 songs added to the rotation. There were parts of the album that I would hear glimpses of, like, I don't know if it was intentional or not. I would hear glimpses of like Sergeant Pepper's or like the Magical Mystery Tour era. You would hear that every so often for like a couple seconds, and then it was done. I was like, well, that was the cool part. I would have liked to hear more of that.
Mhm.
And that's not me saying I need another album like Sergeant Pepper's or anything like that. But if you're gonna do the sound, maybe continue with it. I feel like there's a lot of times in these songs that they'd be boring, but then they'd have like a 5 to 10 second, like something really cool happen. It would just stop and it'd be like, oh, chorus again, and then it would just end. And I feel like that happened too much. Most of the songs, like I said, I agree JT was front loaded, but even those songs were like kind of background music. And then the end of it was just kind of a mess for me. So yeah, 2.25.
All right, JT, your new task is to edit in a blinking red title that just says villain over it. And I want it over top of where I just want it to be like bang, bang, bang. I want it to like blink over top of them. And I want whoever is the lowest score of the review gets the blinking red villain title. That's your task, whether you choose to accept it or deny it is on you, friend. So.
Mike only says that now that he's not the villain.
Wait until our next video.
I'm gonna get it though. Eventually, I'll get
Mike
it.
will be the villain at some point. No, I'm just kidding. Maybe I'm not kidding. Who knows?
I know for a fact Mike is gonna be the villain of the next one, without a doubt.
Stay tuned.
Yes, stay tuned for more of whatever. Well, bottom line, we have different opinions, but that's all okay. That's ultimately what you guys have to say. Jump down in the comment section below. Share your thoughts, share your opinions. I don't really care anymore. Whatever. It's a stupid flying world we live in. Whatever. Whatever. I give up at this point. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, listening, however you enjoyed us. And I want to thank the 2 gentlemen who joined me for doing this as well. My birthday is this Saturday. That's why we agreed to pick this. Yay, 24. I feel old already. Holy God. I know. Sorry. Whatever. It's getting older and older. Anyways, I digress. Thank you so much for watching, listening, however you enjoyed us. And